Like they call it the doghouse.
Okay, this past weekend, Anthony Joshua knocked out Robert Helenius in round 7 and got his first stoppage victory since beating Kubrat Pulev. And in recent memory, I think that's probably Anthony Joshua's first flat-out KO. Probably since, I would actually say Dillian Whyte, because if you look at a lot of his stoppages, Joshua, since he obviously beat Charles Martin, but that was more of a Martin kind of sitting out for the count. Technically, it was a knockout, but not a man going out cold. Brazil, he had him all over the place, but kind of got stopped with him on the floor. Same with Klitschko, he did the same sort of thing. Molina, they're all of Joshua's sort of fights that have ended in stoppages have essentially been TKOs. None of them have been knockouts. Even against Povetkin. Povetkin probably was the best example because Povetkin was very close to being knocked out cold, but never went out cold. A lot of Joshua's fights, similar. If you look at, for example, Terence Crawford, a lot of his stoppages are similar. And he kind of just picks you apart and gets the shots and eventually stops you with the counters. Now, that's what Crawford is. Obviously, that's not Joshua. Joshua is very much hurts you. And then once he lets his hands go, unless the combinations go, it's curtains. But it's a good win from Joshua. Not a particularly great performance. I didn't think it was particularly inspiring. I felt there were so many times when Joshua had Helenius against the ropes and wasn't able to really never let his hands go. Didn't really let any combinations fly. And I felt watching that fight that a lot of people now, and it's starting to become a cliche with AJ talking about how Ruiz took his soul every single fight. He's not been the same. It's becoming a cliche with Joshua now. He can never please people to that level, but I don't think he looked great. But I didn't think he looked bad either, and that's the thing. A lot of people act like he performed terribly. He performed better than what I feel the consensus is. The difference is, it's a 1 week notice opponent, literally not even that. I think like 7 days, 6 days, 5, something like that. So you can't really talk, I don't think, about Helenius and think that it was going to be an easy fight, because Joshua, the last time he did this, he got knocked out, well, not knocked out, but finished by Ruiz. And I think that would definitely be in his mind, especially for someone who does seem to have these sort of problems, Joshua. But I don't think he really struggled in that. I think the issue was he had Helenius against the ropes many times, but just never. I was screaming out for him to sort of just pop him with a jab and then come through with a straight right. You could just tell the way Helenius was moving, he wouldn't be able to get out of the way, and he would have cleaned him out. And he landed a very vicious, fast right hand in the first round, and kind of gave you this sort of feeling that he landed a few, was very, very insistent on trying to throw this looping left hook, and I think he tends now to throw one punch at a time rather than actually throwing combinations, Joshua, which I think has, in turn, makes him a little bit, not predictable per se, but just, I don't know, I just preferred it when he was a bit more loose. Watching his Dillian Whyte fight, he was a lot more explosive and a lot more, what would be the word? I don't know, he was just more loose. He just seems too stiff now, and I think, don't get me wrong, I think his losses have a very big impact on him, but I still would like to see him throw his hands more. But regardless, the fight now that everybody's going to want to see is Deontay Wilder. And this fight has got everybody thinking now that Wilder's going to be a massive favourite in the fight. And I do agree, he will be a favourite, Wilder. We all know how hard he punches. I don't think anybody needs me to go over that. He's, vicious with that right hand. But Joshua is no slouch either when it comes to his power. But one thing about Joshua, he got hit a lot in that fight. And I think it gets a lot of people thinking that, against Deontay Wilder, he hits you with some similar shots. That's where I think the issue comes. But one thing about Helenius as well, he's very long and he's tall. Joshua has never really fought anybody in recent time who was very tall. Like, look at all of his heavyweights he's fought. Usyk, he's a small heavyweight. He came from cruiserweight. Same with Jermaine Franklin, small heavyweight. Dillian Whyte himself is a small heavyweight who is about to fight. Pulev, small heavyweight. They're all small. Ruiz, the same thing. The last big one was Dominic Brazil, I think. And again, I don't know. I just feel like Joshua, I would like to see him put in there with bigger heavyweights, Carlos Takam, again, he was relatively big. But I don't know. I just see him with bigger heavyweights. I think those matchups suit him better because he doesn't have to punch down and He just doesn't seem to. Those guys don't have the speed. But in terms of him against Wilder, though, I want to know. A lot of people seem to think that Joshua hasn't got a chance in that fight. I disagree. I think this fight is a lot closer than people think, and I think Wilder's don't twist it. He's very, very vicious with that right hand, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He can't box off the back foot, Wilder. He doesn't handle pressure that well, and if Joshua does put it on him, I could see him easily knocking Wilder out. And Wilder's chin after getting in those Fury wars, it might not be the same. And let's not get this twisted. Wilder's not fought in a long time, and in the fight he did have, he fought for 1 round. The ring rust may be there, Wilder. So I think there's a lot that Joshua could have. I think physically Joshua's the bigger man out of the two. Wilder's long in terms of height, but Joshua's physically, I think the way Joshua's built, there's not many people I think in the world, and that includes Tyson Fury, who would physically be able to manhandle him in the ring. Wilder, you can manhandle him, as Fury showed, So I think Joshua has multiple ways to beat Wilder, but ultimately his fight's going to end up in a knockout, because I don't see Joshua, actually, I say I don't see. I do see him playing it safe for the whole fight, but I could see there being a point where he does open up a bit more. The right hand is big from Wilder, and I could see Deontay Wilder catching him in the middle of an exchange, which would probably rock him and then eventually put him down. But in terms of Wilder, I could see Joshua backing Wilder up with his jab and almost faking the jab, and then which sort of forces Wilder to commit with a shot. He's out of range, off balance, and then Joshua cracks him with the right hand, and I could see him knocking Wilder out as well. So this fight now, I think it's the perfect knockout for Joshua, the perfect time, because he needed to knock Helenius out. Helenius was out cold, and I think it shouldn't be overstated. Like the type of knockout that it wasn't like I said, the TKOs where he finishes you. It was a straight one punch, he's gone. It was a Deontay Wilder type of knockout. Those type of knockouts do a lot for your confidence, and I think Joshua, who knows, maybe now he thinks he can knock out Wilder. Maybe now he believes. I'm not saying the old AJ is going to come back, because that one is gone. He's different. People naturally evolve, and I just wonder, like, how does Joshua handle Wilder, the pressure of that fight? I think personally, like I said, the fight's a lot closer than people think. I don't think Wilder will just run through him. Don't get it twisted, he could knock him out in a round, but I don't know. I feel like the lack of rounds that Wilder's had in recent time, I know you could probably still beat most guys, but I do feel the inactivity is not helping him. With Joshua, he's looking to fight a lot, so personally, I don't know, 50-50 fight in my opinion. I know I said Spencer Crawford was 50-50, and I thought Inoue Fulton was close, and those fights went one way. It could go one way, but to me, this is closer than people care to admit. The only thing with Joshua, he's have to be on his bike for a lot of that fight, and he's going to have to really stick the jab in Wilder's face and make him feel it. I think he's going to have to, at one point, because Wilder's right hand is dangerous, but, if you put that jab in his face, he struggles. When the problem with Joshua is he was snapping that jab out of Wilder against Helenius very well, but he wasn't doing enough. He was just sort of pawing with it, but then eventually he started snapping at it. And that's one thing. Derek James, you look at Errol Spence, Jamal Charlo, they all have fast, sharp jabs, and to me, that's something that Joshua, I think, definitely could learn more. He has the power, I think, to not hurt a man with his jab. He can snap the head back, and again, with Wilder, his defense is non-existent. All you got to do is essentially hit him with a jab, snap his head back, and then you can quickly come over the right hand, especially against the ropes. He can't fight off the ropes, and Joshua has a better chance of knocking Wilder out than Fury does, even though Fury was able to stop Wilder and has fought more aggressively recently. Ultimately, Joshua's a harder puncher than Fury. People have different traits, and Fury's got the size, but he hasn't got the power that Joshua has. Fury, look at a lot of his knockdowns against Wilder. Look at the first one. He kind of just hit him with a quick 1-2, but it was just one that knocked him out off balance. He knocked him down again with the body shot in the second fight. He then in the third fight was sort of caught with a looping, sweeping left hook, which put him down, and then got put down twice himself. But then I think it was a 10th or 11th round. He caught him with the right hand up close, which span Wilder around almost, and then obviously then he got the knockout. But it took him this many shots to finish Wilder off. Difference with Joshua, I don't think Joshua would need that many rounds and that many knockdowns to knock Wilder out. I think, put it this way, if Joshua landed that 1-2 on Wilder, landed a vicious shot like that, I don't think he's getting up. Or if he gets up, he's wobbly, and Joshua, I think, would be able to finish him. If Wilder is here's Joshua, he will swarm him and he will try and get him out of there. I do think Joshua was doing a lot of ducking with the head in. Wilder, he used the uppercut against Luis Ortiz, and if he can use that against Joshua, I think it would help him, because that right hand isn't just straight right. He's got power in the uppercut as well. So to me, I think that would be a shot I think I would look to use if I was Wilder. For Joshua, I think you just snap the jab in his face. I think Wilder will struggle with that. It is the fight we all wanted for a long time. It is the original fight for the big super fight in the heavyweight division. And yeah, end of the year, I think it'll be January now, not December. But I think it's a good fight. I think this was a good preparation for Wilder. Fighting something big, something long. Learning how the angles are going to be different. If you fought a smaller heavyweight, it wouldn't be good preparation for Wilder. And I don't think Dillian Whyte would be the perfect opponent for Wilder at all. So yeah, going from Joshua though, just my thoughts on the fight. I do think he is ready for Wilder. A lot of people are trying to baby him and trying to say, oh, he needs one more. I am sick of people trying to protect Anthony Joshua like he's some sort of little child. He's a 30-something-year-old man who can smack most people. Let him fight. I'm done with these Dillian Whytes, with the flipping Heleniuses and Pulas. Stick him in with Deontay Wilder. Enough has been enough. There has been no... I know people talk about what's best for him and his health. Listen, if Joshua wants to be great, which he seems like he does, if we want the best fights, we can't keep babying this guy. He's going to have to step in with the elite sooner or later. Usyk himself, even though he was an elite fighter, wasn't seen as an elite heavyweight at that time. Even that fight wasn't that. The two fights are Wilder and Fury. That's what I want. And yeah, I'm done with him fighting these guys. To me, he needs to fight Deontay Wilder next. I don't want to see anybody else. Same thing when Errol Spence beat Yordenis Ugas. There was nobody else. He'd beat everybody. Joshua hasn't got many more heavyweights to go through. Barring the top guys, he's only lost twice to Usyk. And that fight, Usyk's just wrong for Joshua, so I don't really expect much difference. But the Furies and the Wilder, they're still there. And I would love to see him fight one of those two. He needs to. That's the only thing that's missing on his resume. If he beats them, he's got the best resume in the whole of the heavyweight division. So, yeah, need to see that fight. But yeah, Wilder Joshua next, it'll be a good one. Just my thoughts on the fight. On Helenius Joshua. Great knockout from Joshua. And yeah, until next time.